faces in the audience. I had my colada this morning, so I'm good to go. All juiced up. Who's first? Go ahead, Dash.
Okay, I'll start. Of course, Brock wasn't on the play game.
Yeah.
You anticipate him getting here before the game?
We don't know. His status is still unsure. He's still battling that ankle injury that's been nagging him, it seems like, forever now. But he's been great in his rehab. I hope he makes it. I don't know if he will. It's still something that we're up in the air on, waiting to see. But he's been great in support of his teammates throughout the prep ever since the Alabama game. So we'll see.
There's a chance if he doesn't play, he can join you all to the sideline and be with his teammates?
I don't know that yet. I think he's just focused on getting that ankle 100%. And if he gets 100%, then I think he's going to try to do everything he can to help us. And if he doesn't, then he'll be there to support his teammates. So it's still the good thing about right now. We still got a couple of days until we play. So I know he's battling hard. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, he's a guy after the injury could have gone. After SEC champ, could be somewhere at a combine training.
After Vanderbilt,
right?
He could have went somewhere. He didn't have to come back.
What does that say about him?
I think the people that are around us a lot know what type of person Brock is, right? You know what type of competitor Brock is, and I think it just shows how much he loves his teammates, right? It shows how much he loves his coaching staff, and it shows how much he loves Georgia, man. He is. Y'all have asked me a lot of questions about Brock before, and just how much of a competitor he is. Like, he loves to compete. He is the ultimate competitor. And so the fact that he came back in, 3 weeks, it was unbelievable that he came back from that ankle injury, that surgery, came back and played at a really high level against Ole Miss. Just shows how much he wanted to keep playing for, again, his teammates, his coaches in this university.
So his availability for the bowl game is strictly based on the injury?
Yeah, it's the injury, man. If he's healthy enough to play, then he'll play, and if he doesn't, then we'll see what happens after that. But we're just still waiting to see at this point.
What do you enjoy the most about coaching Brock, and what are you maybe going to miss the most about him?
I mean, the hard work mentality, the toughness, the edge that he brings to practice every day. That's great for those young kids to see because. Look, football is a contact sport. It's a violent sport. You got to have toughness to succeed in this game, right? And to be honest with you, there's a lot of that that's void in our sport nowadays. To have a guy like that, like Brock, that's more throwback, that just loves the game. He loves the contact. He loves the toughness aspect of playing football. That's very infectious for his teammates. So he's a great person to have around because people feed off Brock and how he plays.
Every once in a while, we'll hear a little smack talk, whether he's talking about stiff arms or whatever. But on the practice field, is he in the defensive space after a play, or is he a walk back to the huddle guy?
What do you think, Cody? You answer that question. I don't think Brock's talked any smack as long as I've known him. No, he just goes about his business, man. He does what he's supposed to do. He does his job at a very high level, and he gets back and does it again, and then he does it again. And then he does it again. He doesn't stop. I mean, it just shows he's unreal, man. And the fact that it's hard to find another player that's like him before. Just the way he does it at such a high level all the time. Like, he never stops.
What's the ceiling for Oscar as a TE1, so to speak? Beyond a few games, knowing that he's going to be the guy next year.
I think he's really embraced his role, as that guy moving forward. And Oscar. Extremely talented, different than Brock. I mean, and everybody's going to try to compare the tight ends to Brock, but there's not going to be another Brock, and I don't want him to be another Brock. I want Oscar to be Oscar, right? And I want Lawson to be Lawson, and so on and so forth. But he, Oscar's had to mature a lot, okay? And I think with Brock's injury, it happened probably a little faster than he had thought, but that's good for us. That's good for our room. It's good for our offense. It's good for our team, and Oscar has shown that. His preparation has been very diligent. He's worked very hard. He's kind of really stepped up. And knowing that Brock's absence, that our offense still needs him. Our offense is predicated on how much we play the tight end, 11 personnel and 12 personnel, and the ability to get the ball to those guys and change it up on the defense. And Oscar knows that it's now on him. If Brock is available, if he's not available, he plays a large role in our offense. And he's done a great job just from a mental preparation standpoint of taking a larger part of the game plan.
The two tight ends you brought in, Jaden and Colton, what did you see in them that you thought they would be benefits and worth adding to this?
They're obviously here now, and I haven't seen them do much. Obviously, in a couple of practices, Jaden's done a little bit more than Colton. He got a little bit earlier start than them, but those guys are exactly what we thought they were coming in. You know, they're big, they're physical, they're fast. You know, they're different in their own aspects. It's kind of what they bring to the table, but they complement each other very well, and we look forward to what they can bring to our offense moving forward.
When you're recruiting tight end prospects, as the fact that you've coached Brock and developed him the way that he's developed, made it easier, made it maybe a more effective sales pitch?
Yeah, obviously that sells itself. Just from kids love numbers, right? Kids love stats. Kids love production. Kids want the ball, right? And the fact that you see the numbers that we have produced in our offense with the tight ends, it makes the sale a little bit easier for sure.
What can you say about Lawson's progress? I think he was hurt for a year.
Man, yeah, so he came in and made an immediate splash this time last year. Like, he's this high school kid that comes in and was able to do these bowl practices, and he went down on the scout team, was running Ohio State's offense, and then he was running TCU's offense, and the defensive guys were like, man, this Lawson lucky guy, he's going to be a good player. And then that went into the spring, and he had a really good spring, very productive spring, and it kind of set the bar high for him going into the season. And then fall camp rolls around, and scrimmage number 2, I believe, we were in the stadium, the far right corner of the end zone, and had that ankle injury, and it took probably longer than anybody expected to come back. And I'll say this, he's healthier now than he ever has been, obviously, because time does that, okay? But the biggest thing with Lawson lately has just been gaining that confidence back, because he was a very confident player in the past, and he had the injury. It took forever for him to come back. He lost a little bit of that edge, and so just getting him back into a mindset of, dude, I'm a dude that can help us. I'm a dude that needs to step up to the plate and replace some of the production that Brock, Brock's there. If he's not there, whatever, that ball, we get to that tight end, Lawson can have a big piece of that pie. It's just getting that confidence back to understand that he can be a dude for us.
Is there another position, maybe not yours specifically, but another player that you can quantify that took advantage of these bowl practices and it sprung with them? Is there one guy you're like, man, he really stood out in X and transcended to that?
That's a great question. That's hard to answer, because I think us as coaches, we're so locked into our position. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just like you're kind of so tunnel vision on getting your players to do their job at an extremely high level that sometimes you don't see other stuff that's going on. I'll say this, I think Carson Beck's had an unbelievable bowl prep. Obviously, just some of the things he's done in practice, some of the throws he's made. Everybody knows he's a very talented passer of the football, but some throws he's made this camp, this bowl camp, has been like, wow, this dude's elite, man. And we knew that, but if to answer your question, I'm going to say Carson, because just some of the throws he's made have been unreal.
Were you surprised he decided to come back?
I wouldn't say so. I've known Carson for a long time. I recruited Carson. I was at Miami, and Jacksonville's been my recruiting area, so I've known my family a long time. I wouldn't say surprised. I think we were all hoping he would come back. And it was up in the air for a long time, but Carson loves Georgia, and Carson wants to help us win, obviously, and obviously we're excited that he's coming back, but I wouldn't say surprised.
Talk about the recruiting. You get to know these kids as 9th, 10th graders. You pour into them for a couple years at Georgia, and then you have guys that decide to leave. What's it like putting all that blood, sweat, and tears in, and then just having somebody say, this is not a place?
Yeah, you build relationships, right? Like you form relationships with these kids, and relationships take time, and you just think about all the time you've invested into each kid. And look, it's the nature of college football now. Like, it's the landscape that we live in, the horrible landscape, and sometimes kids have to do what's best for them, and that's okay. That's okay. It hurts if you have a relationship with a kid that maybe you even recruited, you signed, you went through the whole process of bringing them in, they've been here for a couple of years, then they leave. But ultimately, if you do truly love that kid, you truly have their best interest at heart, if it's you support their decision to leave, that's what's best for them. That's what we do.
On the flip side of that, what's the code? Because it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Guys, you have relationships that didn't go with you guys originally, then come back. How do you keep that relationship maintained when they decided originally to go somewhere else?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of recruiting nowadays. Is Coach Martin does a great job. Look, if you lose them on signing day, just make sure you keep that relationship with them, because you might get them on the second time around, right? You might get them when they go into the portal. That happens, and so you never want to end a recruiting day battle on a sour note nowadays, because there is a good chance they could come back, And so we have been very intentional about keeping those relationships alive.
Going back to Carson, is it injected energy? Like, have you seen energy in the ball practice, especially after the way the end of the season went?
Well, if you've been to any of our practices before, there's no absence of energy, no matter who we're playing or what time of year it is. I mean, I get what you're saying. I'll say this: it doesn't feel any different. I think everybody's just, it's kind of like there was that cloud of uncertainty of what he was going to do, and now there's not that. But yeah, I mean, he seems a little bit more relaxed. He seems like a little bit of pressure's off his shoulders. Maybe that's why he's having such a good full canvas, because that decision's already behind him now. But we do feed off Carson. Carson is the leader of our offense, and as he goes, we go. And he's practicing well, then we're usually practicing well too.
You can control what you can control.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you
Last question.
Yeah.
Last question.
Go ahead. Last question.
You guys are always moving forward.
Yeah.
Is it a punch in the gut? How long did it take you to go over and not be winning?
You know what? Obviously, our goal is to win every game that we play. And we did that for a long time at Georgia. We knew that we had to beat Alabama, and we did. And so, if we want to be in it, then we better win every game we play.
Can I ask you, did Brock come back too soon? Is it maybe?
No, I don't think that was it at all. We were very, I don't know the word I'm looking for, cautious in that. We didn't want to bring him back until he was 100% healthy. And we hit all the boxes were all checked. Every marker he had to hit, he hit, and everything was cleared through the doctors, through the surgeons. That we made sure, and then at the end it was up to Brock too. Like, hey, are you sure? Are you healthy? Do you feel like it? And every time it was yes. Every time he went to get a follow up to make sure it was yes. So I don't think it was him coming back at all. I do think that he possibly might have re-aggravated it at some point, that made it a little bit more sore. But no, I don't think it was him coming back too soon at all. If you know that kid, he'd take the same thing. All right, who's first? Go ahead, B.A.
Yeah, Coach, talk us through the decision. Brock Bowers not on the team playing and what it means for the team.
I don't think it means anything other than he's just trying to rehab. I think he's trying to get as healthy as possible, and keeping him back is probably the best decision, to get his ankle back as fast as possible. And if he can be healthy enough to play, then he'll play. And if he's not healthy enough to play, then he'll. I think it's as simple as that. And so I think we all want him out there. Love to see him play in this game, but it's up to Brock, really, and it's up to his health with his ankle. And he came back at an unbelievably fast pace. Nothing that wasn't clear, that wasn't out of the order. Like, he checked all the boxes. He wanted to play. He was 100% healthy, and it's just been nagging him ever since. And that's what happens. You hurt it, and then you come back to play, and just the amount that he plays, how hard he plays, the violence he plays with, the force he plays with, it just hasn't been the same since. So just, for Brock's best interest is we got to get that thing 100% healthy, and so that's what we're doing, just trying to get him in it.
Tom, what is your role in special teams coaching? Like, do you oversee certain aspects of that?
I think we're all involved. If you work for Kirby Smart, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be involved in special teams. I have a extensive special teams background throughout my career. So,
can you speak to Peyton? Is that your area or not really?
Peyton Woodring?
Yeah.
New Shoes? We call him New Shoes? No, I don't really coach the kickers, no sir.
Okay.
But what a year he's had, huh?
Yeah.
Great job, man. Coming as a freshman, those pressure situations, unbelievable.
You did recruit the Australian punter.
I did.
Without going to Australia, right?
Probably my second favorite person on the team. No, that would have been a heck of a recruit trip, wouldn't it? All right. Unfortunately, COVID would. At home visit, where are you going? I'm going to Victoria, Australia. First class, Kirby, please. No chance. No, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go out there. But that whole recruiting process is, they do. It came from Pro Kick Australia.
Right.
And it's a wild process the way you go this. It's kind of like mail order bride. Like, you find one you like, you don't really know, you got a lot of trust in the person sending it to you, and then when they show up, you're like, oh, please, Lord, please. And he worked out pretty good. Brett's been a great addition. So.
Did you know he had the personality and sense of humor he had?
He was very nice on the Zooms. He loved talking to my kids. And now he's a complete butthole. But I'm kidding. I love Brett. He does have a great sense of humor, doesn't he? His Twitter is off the chain. But he is a good follow, and that's how he is in person too. and he's very point blank too. So
Why is Peyton new shoes?
I think when he came out there during fall camp, he had those fancy new little kicker shoes on, and Kirby loves to give the freshman heck, right? So you're out there kicking like, oh, I see you got your new shoes on today, and he had they're like pink and green and flamboyant, right? They have typical kicker shoes, and so he called him new shoes, and that just kind of stuck. I like nicknames, so that stuck in my head.
You guys signed a punter in this 2024 recruiting class, Drew Miller. What do you know about him so far?
Strong leg, unbelievably strong leg, can boom it. I know he has kickoff ability too, and when you have a chance to sign a kid like that, if you think is a difference maker in special teams, then you do it, and you take advantage of it. And you still got Thorson and you got him, but that guy's a weapon. And it's hard to find weapons. And think about Kirby, like Kirby's not just going to scholarship anybody as a specialist, and so that tells you what Kirby thinks of him as well. Like he's going to be definitely somebody that's going to help us as far as changing field position moving forward.
Obviously, had 2 freshmen this year on the roster, and Pierce Brown also.
Yeah.
What did you see from those 2 guys? And got 2 new ones coming in.
Well, I think they really had to grow up maybe faster than they had thought. Okay, because of the injury with Brock. That was my son. Sorry. But they have matured in the right way, right? And so, you look at 2 guys who are very athletic, who probably size-wise, strength-wise, weren't physically mature enough to contribute right away, but mentally they have definitely attacked it and gotten better, and I've seen definite progression from each of them. They're different in what they bring to the table. Lawson's a little bit more at the line of scrimmage, but you can flex him out. And Pierce is more of a wideout, and we knew that going in. And Pierce is still learning how to play tight end, where Lawson actually played tight end in high school. So, but I'm very pleased with both of them. And then you asked about the 2 new freshmen. They just got here, so don't know much other than what I knew going into recruiting. I know this. I'm glad they're here. I mean, you've seen some things just the first couple of days. You're like, wow, that's. Again, like you go through the recruiting process and it's not an exact science. Like you watch the tape and you try to get the best evaluation as possible. You go and see them in person, you try to get the best evaluation as possible, and then you really don't know until you get them on campus, right? You try to eliminate as much risk as possible, get them to camps and seeing them as many times as you can, and then you don't know till they get to your campus, and then they've been here a couple of days and been very pleased with what they've shown so far.
You mentioned Pierce's background as a wide receiver coming into college, having to play more of a traditional tight end role.
Yep.
He had a very similar path with Darnell Washington and kind of turned him into one of the best blocking tight ends that you've seen. What did you learn from that experience from Darnell that you can maybe apply to Pierce?
The first thing is you might not be a good blocker in high school, and most high school tight ends aren't, right? But you got to be willing to do it. So that's the one characteristic we look for is, are you a willing blocker? If you're willing, then I'll teach you how to do it, right? And so Darnell was very willing. Okay, and Pierce is willing too. Pierce will get in the weight room, and he has. He's attacked it, and he'll get there. But the difference is Pierce is about 235. Darnell is 265 on a good day. Okay, on a good day. He probably played at 280 that last year, right? And so Darnell had a little bit more mass that helped him out. And whereas Darnell could miss with his hands or not step in the right foot or have his hat in the wrong place, and just his run blocking technique and fundamental might not have been exact. He got away with it because he was like a human eclipse. Right? He just swallowed you up. Where Pierce is a little bit more narrow, doesn't have as much ass. Okay, so Pierce has got to be a little bit more sound with his technique than Darnell was, but he'll get there. Pierce has a frame to gain a lot of mass and a lot of weight, and he'll get there one day.
In what ways did you see Oscar grow as a leader this year? Being an older guy now compared to
Oscar. Where Oscar had to show the most growth was just maturity of understanding what it takes to be an elite level tight end, right? Like Oscar was from West Forsyth, and he was a really good player in high school, and he just had to understand the magnitude of the position that he was being put into, right? And so you had to see just personal growth in his maturity, like how he attacked his preparation, right? Oscar's a 405-pound bench presser. Like Mark Bowers isn't that. Darnell Washington wasn't that. Like he's unbelievably strong in the weight room. He runs 21 miles an hour. He has all the physical traits. It was the mental capability of handling the situation of playing tight end at an elite level that he had to show the most growth in. And that's where I've seen that progression, especially recently. Knowing that, Brock's here, Brock's not here, Brock's able to play, Brock's not able to play. He's had to take that role on of being, somebody mentioned tight end one earlier. He's had to do that. And, I've seen some really good things out of Oscar. I'm very pleased with where he's at.
Lawson is a guy came in sort of with the world on fire last spring, then he has that injury. How is overcoming that injury and the adversity that came with it going to help him as he becomes a more developed player?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Lawson's extremely talented as well. Okay, the biggest thing with Lawson was getting that confidence back. Man, he got hurt. He played last spring with a large amount of confidence. It's just what he brought with him, is kind of type of kid he was, and then the injury kind of took that away. And I wouldn't say really the injury; it was how long it took for him to come back. And it's amazing with these high ankles how different each can be for each individual person, right? And so Brock came back really fast, and then Mims and everybody else were kind of in the middle, and Lawson's probably took kind of on the longer end, and that really zapped some confidence from him. And so that's really what I've tried to work on the last month or two, is just, hey, be that guy you were before. And I'm not talking physically. You got that. You're healthy. I need you to go out there and be a freaking dude, man. Have that confidence. Have that presence about you that you can go out there and make these plays, because that's what you can do. We believe in you.
This might sound like a weird question, but are there any traits, whether it be physical or intangible, in Brock Bowers that you have found that you might apply to the rest of your recruiting processes at the tight end position?
Do you love football?
That's it?
Do you love football? Like it's hard to find kids nowadays that actually love playing the game of football. There's so much going on, right? Social media, NIL, they all have this presence they try to build up, okay, to the outside world. But ultimately, the guys are going to succeed, especially at Georgia, especially in the SEC, and then ultimately the next level is at the heart. We got to love football, man. And so somehow, part of the evaluation process, how fast his 40 is, how high he jumps, how well he can catch, you better evaluate if they love football. Brock Bowers loves football.
How'd you learn that when he was being recruited during COVID?
It's tough. You don't. You didn't know for sure, right? You didn't know for sure. Like, you saw the videos he sent in of how hard he worked, how hard he trained, and you got to love it to be able to send those videos in. And then it was confirmed once he got here. And so somehow, I don't know how you write that up. I don't know how you quantify that, right? I don't know how you put that on a chart. But somehow during the process, you got to find out if that kid actually loves playing football.
This is his last game in Georgia. How will you remember Brock Bowers?
And again, I don't know if it is or not. The dude is the ultimate competitor. Everything he did, he competed to be the best at that, whatever it was. 10-yard sprint, 30-yard sprint, okay, inside run, 7-on-7, Alabama, UAB, it didn't matter. The dude wanted to be the best, and he is the best.
All right, it's a good one tonight.
Thanks, Todd.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Yeah, no problem.